right. After a lot of delays and technical difficulties, because technology settings are never the same across everything, I think we are finally ready to go. So we can finally do this live stream only 36 minutes late. Excellent. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. We are going to be here to live announce the results to NoLimits 2, 5 Hours of Power 3, Power Harder with a Vengeance. So everybody should be able to hear me. At this point, Bill, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
That's Bill.
Test.
Once again, buttons in a string. And do we have Justin?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. We are all here, so we're ready to go. I think we have everybody. And if you hear background music in the background, then that's just extra bonus at this point. So we'll go ahead and take it as it is and get ready to go. Again, thank you, everybody. We just wanted to start off by saying this was, of course, a very difficult competition. We were dealing with a lot of challenges for everybody. The biggest thing that we found across the board, about at least a third of the entries fell apart because of boundary violations. We looked at everything frozen in the overhead views in the editor, and if any part of your coaster, sports station, track, any of it, went over the red borders or the white borders, usually the red borders were the problem, that was it. You were out. That took care of that, and there's just... That's one of the fun things about this contest, is that it's so intense with such a tight amount of time to go by that unfortunately little mistakes like that end up costing some people. We also discovered a few people also had some trouble with the idea of having to fill out the form and get the right link in there, which is a little bit new for this year. We tried to get as much information about that out as possible so that everybody knew that you just needed to get that through to everybody and have some place to, in advance, set up to upload that. But we'll go ahead and turn the music down. The usual point. And that should be better now. It's too soft. That should be a lot better now. Okay. Gentlemen, before we dive into our 6 finalists, any final thoughts on what you saw so far? Or any even honorable mentions you'd like to call out first?
I don't know. I mean, really, it was kind of... I was shocked there were a few entries that people had that they spent under 5 hours on, and they actually placed really well and like followed rules. So I was pretty surprised with a few what I would consider 2 to 3 hour entries, or at least that's what people claimed. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess I don't have any specific entries to call out other than the top 6, but just generally, when you're going through the, we each started with a list of about 14 different coasters to kind of look through and try and kind of find our favorites from, and really just generally what people are able to do in 5 hours continues to be impressive year after year, even though we're only kind of taking a look at the kind of the top 6 as part of this show.
Yeah, so as mentioned, we did take everybody that produced a file and download all the files, got it out to everybody, broke the list up into 14 for each of us. And the first pass was really just looking to see, were there any violations, any disqualifications that happened, and we did certainly have a few. After that, any that were not disqualified, just kind of jotted down our thoughts and to see what we thought about how good the rides were, how well everything was adhered to. And any that were really good were marked on our short list, and those are the ones that moved through to the final detailed judging round, where all 3 of us would give a very detailed evaluation of the finished product. We ended up with 6 that moved on to that final list, and we're going to start showing them now. I will go ahead and bring up the first one. We'll go down to 6th place and start it down to 5th, 4th, 3, 2, and 1. In 6th place, we're going to go ahead and let that load. This year we know about the streaming delays, so we're going to work with it, and I will not announce ahead of when everybody is seeing what's happening, so it should be fun.
Yep.
Justin, you got that Jeopardy music on tap?
Oh yeah. I gotta scroll way back. Let's see.
Okay, and our 6th place finisher soon as we get everything up here, everybody should be able to see it at this point. 6th place goes to Timo Ko with his pair of coasters, the wooden one Nefarious and the steel coaster Azron, which hopefully everybody can see that.
Hey, can everyone see that?
That's an
Just out
interesting
of
question. It should be broadcasting. Is everybody getting any video? It does not.
I see it. Yep.
We are getting
Alright.
video through. Okay.
yeah. I'm just struggling, but I'll get there. Just continue and I'll catch up.
All right. So I'll go ahead and talk about it first as I try and work some things in the background. Overall, this was a very interesting pair of coasters. A couple things in there, fairly well built overall. Sorta. At least the wooden coaster did have one kind of critical problem where it kind of killed everybody.
Yep.
Especially everybody on the left-hand side. There was a beam that was right there through. But hopefully we can get everybody going again. I may be having bandwidth problems on my side. Hopefully the stream is still active.
Yeah, it is. We're good.
You're good. Okay. I can't see the live chat right now, so I'm getting problems on my side. But at least the notes up there. So it's aside from decapitating everybody on the left side. On that one, the wooden coaster was peppy, full of pretty smooth, lots of fun elements going on. The shuttle coaster is really what wowed me. It has a real fun fake out where it launches forward, does a few things. It's kind of on the simple side. And then on your way back into the station, you're like, okay, that wasn't too bad. Then it launches backwards through the station. It goes through this whole other section that you did not know was there. And that surprise really, really was good. We had some good interaction. The tracks trying to cross over each other through the little canyon gap there, which made it a little more fun and enjoyable. I'll go ahead and start riding one of the two coasters here, and I'll turn it over to whoever wants to go next. How about Bill? We'll go alphabetically.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, pretty much echoing what Tom said. The shuttle coaster, I sat down in, with my notes up, and launched out of the station. Went around the first couple elements, and I was like, oh, well, I guess that's it. And then hit the station and kind of blasted off backwards. Like, oh, all right, this is cool now. And in particular, this was one of the rides that. Or the combination of rides that had really solid interaction between the two rides, and in particular did a good job of using the template, or used parts of the templates that more people didn't use. In particular, kind of getting up on that on the cliff and kind of using that to the advantage of both of the rides, both on the kind of return spike on the shuttle, and kind of the first run of elements on the Woody as well.
Yeah, as far as my thoughts on it, I agree the interaction between these two is super good, and I think that's what really propelled this forward. It's really nice to see how, there's a lot of just intertwining. It kind of looked like a big twist going all the way out for both the rides. I think big critiques, obviously, the wooden coaster didn't always feel wooden, and I thought the supports felt kind of flimsy in some places. I think if the spacing was tighter, I think there's an option for that to increase the spacing of the wood supports. Otherwise, there's a few strong G's here and there, and it kind of wanders occasionally, but otherwise, I mean, really just the ideas are super strong, and I think, again, that's what really propels entries like these forward. Is really just creative use of the template, maximizing that usage.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and try and get over to the steel coaster here, and okay, it is over here to the shuttle, which is hopefully back and ready to go. It is good, just in time. Excellent. So we'll go through here. You guys will have to monitor the stream quality for me, since I'm getting lots of bandwidth problems on side. My ISP
Seems okay to me.
very happy with me right now. So yeah, on the shuttle side, it was quite the fun surprise. I think that was what really blew us away in terms of rewarding extra points. It was very creative, very unique idea. And after glancing at it originally inside of the editor, the supports are a bit sloppy in a few places. After glancing at it a few different places inside of the editor, I did not realize what the ride pattern was going to have in store for us, so that the whole backwards launch was really spectacular and quite enjoyable. Justin, Bill, definitely if you see any questions go by, I won't be able to monitor the chat in real time, so let me know if you see anything.
Sure.
I'm gonna try and talk again and see if is that way too loud. Someone
It
in the
seems
chat.
fine to me, but
Yeah. I cut it down by half because people made it sound like I was screaming here.
Well, they should listen to what you're saying.
Right.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the 5th place finisher. That was, so again, congratulations for Timo Ko for making it in there with in 6th place with Nefarious and Azron. So we'll go ahead and close that. We're going to load up the 5th place finisher. Let's see who that is.
Jesus. Even louder than before? How are we doing here? I just cut it by like 80%.
Wait to see everything load here. Of course, it does take a little while to load the park. One thing we're going to improve for next year is we'll probably make a very basic contest template that we can then later insert the coaster into the same park that we've been building on, but the actual template will be devoid of any scenery, just to make sure it performs fast. All right. Our 5th place finisher is up and should be ready to go here. And gentlemen, call it out when you see it.
And we see it.
And,
Actually, we see a camera. There you go.
There we go. All right, so this is 5th place goes to Coaster Mac 305, Wooden Coaster Corn Dog Express, Shuttle Coaster Flight of the Giant Peach. I'm currently flying around them right now. For both these, I thought the wood coaster was quite nice, great steep twisting first drop that still remained realistic, even though it looked a little steeper than you normally would see. Definitely felt like a GCI, great pacing. Even did the little angled magnetic brake stick. A few little detail things here and there. Didn't see a storage track in a few spots that needed some beefier wide supports that were a bit shallow, but pretty good. The premier launch shuttle coaster is pretty straightforward. Nothing too spectacular about it. Just kind of launched, did its loop, a few little twists and turns, and that was it. So the wooden coasters where most of these points were earned. Good use of the area that you're stuck in with the red zone here to kind of maximize what you put in that area, and go from there. So I think the Premier Coaster needed a little bit more on the sports side of it, but otherwise the GCO is very nicely done, very GCI in execution, and quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, for me, the wooden coaster was definitely the standout of the two. To be able to get kind of this much track in without kind of succumbing to what a lot of coasters in the contest succumb to, which was basically the I'm going to do some S curves and then maybe some more S curves and then a few more S curves. To have avoided that and have a layout basically as long as this one is, without getting repetitive, and while doing a pretty good job of kind of retaining that identifiable GCI feel, like with the transitions and the different elements, was really impressive, especially on a ride as long as this one was rather. The Premier Coaster felt a little bit more like the hey, I built this one second. Nothing wrong with it really, especially on the out trip. But for sure could have used a little boost on that far spike to make the return trip a little faster, and also I kind of felt like in comparison to some of the other coasters in the contest, it was kind of missing a like a real signature element or something that kind of made it stand out as something a little special. But otherwise, really great pair of rides.
Yeah, I think Bill pretty much said everything. For the most part, I think, like we said, the shuttle kind of felt thrown in and slow on the return. There wasn't really any interaction between the two rides aside just from running parallel. I think it was really just kind of in contrast to the other entry we got in, where we really liked the ideas, but it kind of missed some polish and execution. This had like all of the execution and polish, but like not as much of like the grand ideas. I really liked the woody layout. I think what it does in the open area is very cool, how it kind of weaves this three-way turnaround in. But yeah, other than that, I think again the execution was good, but it just didn't have as much like anything super special about it.
Yeah, I think it still turned out well, and it did have a nice variety of things. It wasn't just all S curves or switching up the S curves
Yes.
with 5 curves. It was nice to see, and it very much did feel like a nice GCI coaster with plenty of airtime and the right kinds of twists and little pops here and there. So, I agree that it looks like the wood coaster is where most of the attention went. The shuttle coaster was kind of done because they needed to do it. Didn't quite fit in there otherwise. But still, it was good enough, and it got into 5th place. Anybody that made this final list should feel quite proud after all the constraints of what you had to do when you needed to do it, and it was very intense. So don't definitely feel proud if you managed to complete coasters, get them up there, and are getting into this top list. We'll go ahead and get 4th place ready to go.
Hey, Tom?
Yes.
The live stream just went offline. As confirmed by the chat.
All right, this is going to be fun. I'm going to have to stop streaming and get going again here. Wait, nope, should be back. I see that there's data
back.
going in.
I think.
Yeah, I saw that it stopped sending data for a bit there, and now it's sending data again. So we are loading up 4th place in 5 hours of power here. 4th place should be loaded. Let me know when you gentlemen and everybody can see it.
Yeah, the chat is informing us that everyone can see it. We're good.
Excellent. So this 4th place goes to screen name Cross Xenemas, I think. Zemnas? Don't know that one. The wooden coaster is Eagle, and the shuttle coaster is Pyromaniac. So we'll go ahead and switch up the order of who's presenting first here, and I'll go ahead and give the opening thoughts to Justin, so he doesn't have to say, well, I pretty much agree with everybody else, and repeat that.
Yeah, I think both of the layouts of the rides were cool. The Woody I thought was quite interesting because it has this really like circular structure in the layout, kind of like Balder, I guess. The shuttle then sort of pierces that through the middle, so I thought that was kind of a cool idea. Really, the wooden coaster, again, had kind of a lot of S-curves. It felt a bit bland and dumb on the forces. So I think that's really where the lower points were for this one. But really, like, the ideas sold it well, and I just think the use of the template was really nice.
Definitely agree. Bill?
Yeah, not to just say a lot of what Justin said, but yeah, the Woody kind of started off really well. I really like that kind of spiraling first drop that even kept the turn going once the drop was kind of finished, and then kind of once you got into the main layout portion, it kind of felt like as you went along, maybe looking at the clock, going, "Oh crud, I got to get this done in an hour or something like that." So yeah, it started off, I thought, rather well built, and finished maybe a little less well built, but still generally pretty good. And in particular, the interaction was good. I really liked the extra little detail touches of building even in that time, the kind of the steel I-beam crossovers as the shuttle kind of pierces the structure. And just generally, the shuttle was really kind of enhanced by the interaction with the Woody. The shuttle really, I don't know, kind of one of the standout moments for me, apart from going through the structure and kind of interacting really well with the wooden coaster, was just that final spike. It has a certain kind of cool aesthetic to it, and as it unbanks, adding a little bit in the way of lateral G's, to the spike was kind of an interesting and kind of novel touch.
Yeah, I thought the reverse spike was good on the back, that adding that extra little piece in there. One thing I want to definitely highlight is on the shuttle coaster, the forward spike at the front of the ride was really cool. The upward twisting spiral, the forces were very well put together. Very unique idea. Loved that quite a lot, which you'll be able to see as we're riding the wooden coaster in a little bit. As pointed out, taking the extra time to do the steel crossover, steel I-beams for the crossover points of the wooden coaster was very good. I did like the tangled knot of track that kind of put everything in here. Going to some of the earlier discussion about the general trends that we saw about all the S-curves and everything. So far, you'll notice that the coasters that we've highlighted are the three of the top 6 have all had GCI style coasters. So it seems like everybody went straight for GCI as the style of coaster they're going to do, which probably also gives a lot of repetitiveness in terms of the S-curves like the one we're seeing inside of that tunnel and all that kind of fun stuff. So a few other little odds and ends. It was pretty well put together. Like the end kind of just meanders back to the station. But a lot of nice stuff going on with this one, and good to see a transfer track set up and a few other things. One thing I'll note on the shuttle is...
One thing we'll note on the shuttle is... Anyone else there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm still here, guys.
Okay.
We have a few things going on here. Now what we're going to also look at doing is I noticed on the shuttle, and this was kind of one of the tricky things to get all the shuttle settings in place correctly. The shuttle doesn't quite park on the first try. It kind of gets into the station. You won't be able to see it here, but it goes in the station, overshoots it a little bit, and then backs up slightly. So I picked up on that for any of the realism points. If the shuttle didn't kind of come to a nice smooth stop. 6th place finisher, the shuttle also overshot and then had to slowly back up. It was kind of interesting how that was set up. So just little things that we were taking a look at. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to 3rd place now. Get that going. So that one is loading up. Of course, the fun of watching a loading screen on live streaming services like this is always great and entertaining.
Heck yeah.
Indeed.
Ooh, loading screens. Just adds to the suspense as people wonder who got third. Alright, so we are loaded on my screen and we're waiting for the live chat, the live system to catch up. Alright, as soon as you see it, there we are. So
Got it.
3rd place went to Mr. Crawley, Wooden Coaster Degenerate or
Degenerate. Generatorade.
Generatorade. It could have been misspelled.
Gator, yeah.
And Reverb as the shuttle coaster. So this was a good work again. I'll go. Bill will actually take this one first.
Yeah, so this was actually one of the ones that was in kind of my initial judging group, and it starts off. The shuttle in particular was my favorite, but it starts off, like, all right, this is kind of a neat shuttle, and then you get kind of part of the way through the outleg, and it's like, is this thing gonna spin? It's got spinning cars, and then I thought one of the kind of singular strokes of genius in the whole contest was having a shuttle coaster that unlocks like right at the moment you're about to turn around on the kind of return leg. It works fantastically well, and it basically makes a shuttle coaster, feel like two truly separate coasters. One going forwards, one spinning, then going backwards. That most shuttle coasters don't do. It's the same on the forward leg and just kind of the opposite of that on the return leg. So kind of having that brainwave and executing it as well as it was done was just a stroke of genius as far as I'm concerned. Really one of the highlights for me in the whole contest. The Woody, I didn't have as many things to say about, really. It kind of seemed like the shuttle was the focus. Just felt like a little bit rushed, and didn't feel particularly like any identifiable variety of wooden coaster. So yeah, I mean it wasn't bad. I guess just in comparison to how much I liked the shuttle, it didn't do it didn't really stick out to me in the way that the shuttle did.
Yeah. We both kind of agree that the shuttle was the highlight of the entry. I think also picking up on the triggered spin, even if you're kind of going slower on the return trip and or seeing the same thing, having that addition makes it more fun or kind of adds variety. So if it was drawn out on the return, that was kind of fixed by having it spin. The layout of the Woody, it was really good, and I kind of liked it, except for the occasional drawn out parts, especially kind of getting to the red zone a little bit, gets a bit lengthy. One thing I was kind of at odds with the whole time, the supports on the Woody were kind of a weird choice to me. I don't know if this is the Chapel style, but it has these big sort of like bent supports that are almost unsupported all the way down until they meet like halfway down the structure. It kind of left things really flimsy and odd looking to me, but again, I don't think we were too strict on supports in this contest.
No.
And really interaction between the two rides was pretty great. Kind of liked the knotted look of the shuttle and how it dove through the structure, so overall pretty solid entry. I think I ranked it a bit lower in mine, but Tom and Bill averaged it back up, so that's where it ends up in 4th place.
So this time we finally see someone
Or
breaking
third, I
away
should
from
say.
the GCI style a little bit, making more of a CCI type of coaster.
Yeah.
The as mentioned before, I think that the wooden supports, a couple areas could have used a little bit more beefiness. Some of the crossovers, but again, we're not being too harsh on that one. The wooden coaster definitely had lots of action, lots of fun things going on. It did feel like a CCI in that kind of style with the Gravity Group. Shuttle was great. I thought that was definitely the standout highlight, where we had just the idea that you're going to go forwards the whole time locked, and then you're going to unlock the spinning for the return trip. Is a really cool idea, and it made it for an interesting trip back. Interesting on the shuttle is the creator there, Mr. Carley, spent some time building they're duplicating the track with a different track style to get the deeper V-shaped track, which allowed him to build fewer supports, which is nice. But of course now you have all the wheels running through the cross ties and everything. So I didn't mark off for that. It's just kind of a it's kind of an interesting look for that one. But all in all, still a really good work on that particular one, and good job, Mr. Crawley, for 3rd place in 5 Hours of Power. We'll go ahead and move on now to 2nd place. Let's see what we can do here. And let's see how nervous Codemaster is getting to see if he's going to retain his crown, or if he even finished. Did he even get one in? Did he get disqualified?
Did he get disqualified?
Yeah, I was watching his stream a little bit, having a minor panic attack. Like, dude, submit it. And I think he just did on a different screen.
Yeah.
Yep, so we'll take a look and see who came in 2nd. Of course, you guys have to let me know when you can see it. Fun of delayed in streaming.
The chat.
Yeah.
All right, see it now.
There it is.
There it is.
2nd place is Codemaster. We're giving him some extra fun there. Wooden coaster is Wicked. The shuttle coaster is Twister. So very neat names chosen there. With this one, he did do a lot of really good work once he finally focused on doing a lot of good work. The distraction of the 4D coaster was he was having too much fun there. Code can do a lot of good work, and that what he has built here is really good. And this is probably one of the few entries where both coasters were really well built. On a lot of the other entries, we saw one coaster was good, but the other one's kind of okay and rushed. In this case, both of them really came out as really good, solid rides. So Code has a lot to be proud of here to what he was able to do. He was able to build the steel beams for the support of the wooden coaster. Shuttle coaster was brilliant with the Cannibal Lagoon roll going on over through the gap. Really, really cool. The wooden coaster was also a lot of fun, very smooth, very proper GCI, very much in their style. The things that stuck out to me here is that the wooden coaster especially is on the short side, and I noticed that both of his coasters basically started as required in the red area and immediately leave the red area, do all the rest of their stuff outside past the red area in the open white field, and then come back to the red area just to get back to their stations. And so I felt he could have done some more. This is where the creativity points, which were judging how well you used the template, kind of hurt him a little bit, because he didn't do much back in the main portion, or the kind of the more restricted area of the build. He just did it and moved on. The originality stuff, the shuttle coaster, I think, is the stronger of the two and was really good. The wooden coaster is very, very good, very smooth. A tad short. I felt he probably could have done a little bit more, if he hadn't been wasting as much time. And he would have had, he would have easily been able to win it otherwise. But still, both of them very, very strong entries. Code knows exactly what he was doing once he set his mind to it. And I'm going to continue teasing him about this because really, you thought you could cram a 4D coaster through that gap.
Yeah, it definitely. Honestly, I would almost say the shuttle. I kind of want to say shuttle was a highlight of this entry, even though both were really, really good. The GCI, of course, being well shaped and designed. But honestly, the lagoon roll, I remember watching that being built, and I was like, all right, this is going to be just so shoehorned in, shaping wise. I just figure, okay, he's just kind of cramming it through there. And I was just honestly really surprised at how well it rode, how good the G-forces were on it. I don't think it exceeded 0.7 negative G's on there, which is kind of a surprise given that you're hanging upside down. Really, my big qualms with the shuttle were this weird hill launch thing. I think it would have been better if it was kind of flat and then give you more speed to do the twisted spike at the end. It seemed like it really just plowed through that spike. We had some really strong G-forces. I think it was like 5.5 in the front car. Pressing really hard and then just twisting really fast. I think it would have been more natural to have a flat launch, bigger spike. Overall, the Woody was, again, a bit short, and both the rides didn't really use the red template that much, which I did see him struggling with at the beginning. I think really what this entry shows, though, is, especially with how much this entry changed as he built through it, I think this is one of the few people I was watching the stream with, and it just shows how good he is at this contest because he builds so fast with good quality. I think that's kind of the cool takeaway from this. So yeah, definitely if he spent a little more time with a little more focus on the final result as opposed to some of these dead ideas, definitely could have placed first again. You never know.
Yeah, he definitely thought that kind of Code brought his A game. I'm watching a stream when he was building this, going, "Oh, I'm gonna remember that technique for getting GCI shaping down and keeping that those kind of jerks in between the different elements that GCI does really well, but that can seem like a little harsh when you do it in NoLimits rather." And then, watching how he kind of smoothed it out just enough so that it was, kind of looked and felt right. The highlight of these two rides for me is just the kind of the attention to detail and the realism. I thought the GCI really felt identifiable as a GCI. Very few kind of things out of place with it. My one, minor, actually, and probably my one critique of the wooden coaster isn't really to do with length. It's more to do with for the first 3/4 of the ride, it screams GCI, and then as it comes back through, there's kind of this little bit too smooth, wobbly, slow-paced S-curve right before the last little double up, where it's like, oh, well, you were out of speed and out of time, and there's not a lot you can do there, and that's part of the nature of the contest. Pretty much the same comments as Justin on the shuttle. I was pretty astonished at how that kind of, 3/4 roll stall, 3/4 roll the other way, how well that rode. I was watching that get built, going, really? And as soon as you click on ride and go through it, it's it's immediately believable, and that's kind of a testament to how well technically the ride was put together. Also, interaction was solid, especially if you kind of time it up and get the trains going through that area at the same time. Plus, you got that kind of roll over and roll back. Creating head choppers for the first drop of the Woody. Just a really strong, solid entry, kind of the whole way around. Really impressive to have done this, especially in 5 hours.
Also, Code, what's that? What is this thing here? This is kind of suspect. You're better than this. In fact, given the way that it's banked out, imagine a little A-frame over here would have been the better way to go. So, Yeah. Poking code, I always like to take some time and make sure that the 11 master knows that we're still thinking.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's interaction, man. Come on.
Yeah.
little odd there.
Plus 0.001 interaction points.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the winner, because at this point we're all wondering if Code wasn't able to repeat. Who won?
Who did it?
Who made it? Who
Surprise
climbed to
winner.
the top of this mountain? And we're going to take a look and see what happened. I'll try not to spoil it until it actually loads over here. But after his the first appearance last year, took the crowd by storm. Proud to say that the winner this year is Floppy. No. Floppy's entry was exactly.
Floppy 2.
Floppy 2 was everything you'd expect it to be, with the wooden coaster. Well, we may make a big download file that has everybody in it, so everybody can take a look and see what was submitted. But yeah, Floppy 2 and its wooden coaster are exactly what you would expect, and we were happy to see exactly what we expected out of there. It was one of the first ones in there after just 2 hours of work time, and it shows. Nope, the winner is we have a new winner this year.
Still thinking of the stream. And go.
Ta-da!
There it is. Your winner for 5 Hours of Power 3 is Dough Coaster. Wooden coaster is Wilderness, and the shuttle is Backflash. This was quite a surprise. The amount of stuff that was built here is beyond crazy. The wooden coaster really it's gargantuan. No one built this big of a wooden coaster. It was built in the style of kind of an Intamin prefab wooden coaster, and the only person I saw that used it, that went daring up with the 3-bench PTC train. Monster hills, tons of airtime, beautifully shaped, very much in the style of Intamin, and does it just right. Banking rates on the wooden coaster are a little bit too fast for those PTC trains, which really you have to be so super gentle. I noticed it because I checked. I was like, is that going to be too sharp? Yep, it was too sharp. But leaving that out, because I know what he was going for in the time frame, it was really, really well put together and a super exciting ride with tons and tons of G-force there. And it was a spectacularly solid wooden coaster, probably one of the absolute best that were submitted. And the fact that this much was built and that smooth within the 5 hours is already amazing. And I haven't spoken about the shuttle coaster yet. The shuttle was just nuts. It had this brilliant, the support structure also, by the way, I'll call that out first, is very accurate to Premiere with lots of extra smaller beams through there. For the most part, I think that Heartline roll is missing a little bit. But it's really well put together. A lot of creative, inventive ideas. The first outward banked hill that leads to this weird turn afterwards, you think that's not going to work. That worked beautifully. Kept the forces under control. And then the overly inclined, I don't know how you want to call it, reverse spike, where you're actually kind of hanging upside down and still getting propelled upwards. Just brilliant idea. The support tower looks very nicely built for that. Very exciting ride. A few little bits of bumpiness of the track smoothing could have been a little bit better in certain parts, especially that big wide turn. But we're really having to search hard to find niche to pick with this one. Both entries were just stunning, and this completely blew us away.
Yeah, I think this is sort of what I would call a maximalist entry. I feel like a lot of people approach 5 Hours of Power differently. Some go for kind of the leanest thing they can make and really execute as well as they can, maybe like what Code did. A lot of people just build the biggest thing they can, and honestly what was shocking about this is I saw it looked badass, I was ready to get, started looking at this, and honestly the execution was like just as good, and that was what was so amazing. It used pretty much every part of the template it could, and the shuttle interaction was awesome and well designed. I think really other impressive parts about the Woody, the G-forces were actually in check. It looked like it was going too fast, but you kind of have to remember El Toro is kind of on slight hyperspeed there. Even the back car, that's something you kind of watch for these contests because they're like, okay, they only have 5 hours. They're not watching all the G-forces all the way, because this train is a 6-car, 3-bench train. It's really long, and it didn't exceed negative 1.5, so I was actually super impressed by that. Honestly, the big takeaway for this, aside from it just being big and well executed is I don't know, I could tell there's a clear vision from the start concerning like aesthetics and layout planning, and just from the get-go, just immediately starting work on this, and you can just see it all the way through. Only weird part on the shuttle is just that kind of banking entry going into the yellow zone. Other than that, honestly, pretty amazing. Pretty jaw-dropping.
Yeah. Owen, it's funny that you call that out as like a weird part, because that was the one part of that shuttle coaster that actually like kind of upped the realism level for me a little bit, where it was like oh, this is this reminds me of like the weird helix entry at the end of Incredible Hulk, or like any number of kind of things that you'll see on real rides that like, man, that just looks wrong, but it rides right, so great. It added, I thought it added to the kind of realism of the ride, for me anyway. But yeah, I mean, the shuttle coaster was fantastic. I mean, even just looking at the support structure for that big kind of overhanged spike at the far end, it's one of the few moments anywhere in the contest where someone did something that was aesthetically pleasing in a way that it wasn't just functional. It's like it worked.
Yeah.
And it was immediately, iconic is a good word. So I really like that. The wooden coaster, same deal. Just crazy, crazy fast. Mostly felt, kind of believably intimate. Forces were pretty crazy, but again, like 95% in check. I thought actually there's maybe not this hill that we're going over now, but that last one in the front car was a little bit high.
A little high, yep.
on the negative G front, like a little bit into kind of that Skyrush territory, which I don't know if that's something that the kind of that intimate track can handle for Woodies, but still just a really well executed pair of rides. Not honestly sure I got a lot to say about that, but I rode the shuttle and was blown away, and kind of expected the Woody to be all right, well, this is the ride that obviously got less time and attention paid to it, and then hopped on the Woody and was like, well, everyone else in the contest just got a warning shot kind of fired across their computer screens, because this is awfully impressive, period, and especially in 5 hours. So definitely another note is that on all of our separate kind of judging score sheets, this one on Tom's, this one on Justin's, and this one on mine. So there was no doubt in our minds anyway that this was the kind of the clear pair, worthy of winning this contest. So
yeah, all three of us were in agreement that this was the best of the entries, and we all had the highest scored ones on all three of our score sheets. And also, we all agreed that second place went to Codemaster with his entry. We all had him placed in second place. Third through sixth is where we started to see some variety, where differing opinions kind of ranked those a little bit differently throughout. The overall point structure ended up in the order that we presented. So there are differing qualities and different things stood out to each of us for the other two, but we were absolutely unanimous. Code got second place with his entry, which he should not feel ashamed of. He still did a really good job, despite making it harder for himself. But this year's winner, Doe Coaster, congratulations once again. You did a spectacular effort that just nobody saw this coming and just blew us all away. Great creativity, great style, great both rides really fun and exciting. That we couldn't be more thrilled with what you put together. That's going to wrap up this year's live broadcast and the end of 5 Hours of Power 3. We'll go ahead and put another one of these together next year for 5 Hours of Power 4, and hopefully with a little bit less technical problems for the live results show, which we'll try and figure those out in advance. We're working on some ideas for what we're going to put you guys through for the next one. That should be also just as interesting, to challenge use of both how quickly you can build, but also knowledge and use of additional settings inside of the simulator, just to do what you need to do to meet the requirements. So we'll work on getting that set up. In the meantime, thank you very much for everybody who participated and everybody who live streamed, made this a great social event. Even for those who were not actually actively participating building, it was a lot of fun just to watch the process happen and be able to see how everything is going, cheer people on, and that kind of stuff. So thank you once again, everybody, for having fun with 5 Hours of Power. We look forward to running this contest again next year and seeing what you guys come up with. For now, have yourselves a great day, and we will see you again next time.